Hare Krishna, very happy to be with all the devotees once again. Oh, Acyuta Prabhu, Jai Ho, Hare Krishna.
In the morning only I saw that you are giving the session. I thought maybe you get some nectar.
My good fortune to have you here. I'll be tested now.
We have few more devotees joining us. So I shared on Bhakti Sangha. So they have also joined in Zoom.
Okay.
One more devotee has joined BYS. Is Swardeep Prabhu. He is doing his internship at Amazon here in Palo Alto.
Okay, great.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So very glad once again to be back with all the devotees. And today we are going to share about one transcendental personality called as Sri Nārada Muni. So last time we had discussed about Suta Goswami, and this time I was thinking whether we should go for Shukdev Goswami or Parikshit Maharaj or Lord Brahma. And then I felt that let's take a transcendental one, which means very much known to be transcendental. So let's go for Nārada Muni. Okay. So shall we begin? Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. You'll have to enable my sharing, Prabhu, screen sharing. I'll be in prayers by then.
Yes, Prabhu.
ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमः। ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशधारिणे नमो महाधन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौरतुषे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So today the personality, as we discussed, we are sharing about is Nārada Muni. How Nārada Muni became a great devotee in Krishna consciousness. It's a very great person. Hare Krishna, Devrat Prabhu, Dhanvat Pranams.
Hare Krishna, Acyuta Mohan Prabhu. My obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
You're shining, your jacket as well as your face.
Hare Krishna.
So this story comes in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1st, about the entire life of Narad Muni in a nutshell. In 2 to 3 chapters, the story comes. However, the focus upon Narad Muni becoming a devotee is there in one single chapter itself. So let's see what is there in the story. So Narad Muni shares with Vyasdev, his disciple, about his own life story, because for a disciple, it's very enlivening to hear about his own spiritual master. So may I request, uh, like some of you can share one slide. You can read. Anyone can begin.
I was born as an insignificant son of a maid servant.
So this is a very revealing feature about Narad Muni's life. Why? Because he says that he was a very insignificant person. So in India, especially in those periods, like in the Vedic periods, a maid servant or a very simple maid, as you call it in the US, she's like nobody notices her existence also. There is a description in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita about one maid servant called Dukhi. So nobody even noticed that she is existing. She's doing some household chores and all. So in the pastime which comes where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is distributing mercy openly in Mahaprakash Lila, the first person Mahaprabhu notices and offers his extreme mercy is Dukhi. Why in an assembly of personalities like Narada Muni, like Brahma, like Mahavishnu, like Gadadhar Pandit, and like so many other illustrious personalities, Mahaprabhu notices a very simple maid servant called Dukhi. Her name also was Dukhi. Dukhi in Hindi or in Sanskrit means someone who's very sad. Because Mahaprabhu says that this maid servant is assisting all the other devotees. So she's a servant of all the servants. Because everyone was wanting to do Abhishekam of Mahaprabhu, but only she and some others were going and bringing pots of water from the Ganges. And they were just giving off to the devotees. They were not wanting to come in the forefront. So, spiritually, an insignificant person can often be the most fortunate person. But the idea here, which Narad Muni is giving, is that he was not a very significant person in the society. So, a small son of a maid servant, somebody, just somebody. Yes, Prabhu.
Once during Chaturmas time, the 4 months of the rainy season, some exalted Vaishnavas came to the Brahmanas school where my mother was living.
So, where his mother stayed in that area, there was a Brahmana school. Brahmana school means Gurukul. And what used to happen in India was Chaturmas means the 4 months of rainy season. And in those days where, the climates were actually following a typical pattern, unlike today. So the saintly people, they would go from one place to another and they would halt for those 4 months at a particular place. They would not travel in those times because it was very hard to travel. And in those 4 months, practically the entire Indian society was geared to spend the time exclusively for making spiritual advancement. Why like that? Because the goal of life was very clear for Indians, and that was to make advancement in spiritual life. And the other things, they're like, okay, just things to be taken care so that we can continue on our path of journey to the Supreme Lord. So nowadays, people work for 12 months a year, 12 hours a day. In those days, people used to work for 4 hours a day, 4 months a year. Later on, people started working for 8 months a day, 8 months a year, 8 hours a day. Like it's somewhere of that time. And eventually people started working 12 months a year, but 4 hours, 8 hours a day. And nowadays it's only work actually. In US, Indians spend their 1 decade, 2 decades simply in getting green card. So I see people are so afraid of law actually. When this guy Acyuta Mohan Prabhu came here to India, oh my God, law. Oh, he made even me fearful just sitting here in India. Law. And India, nobody cares. Law, what law? It's all God's country, do whatever you want. So this 4 months time was a very special time when they used to simply focus on God, on spiritual life. So it was then that these Bhaktivedantas, as the Bhagavatam calls, they came. Yeah. Yes, Prabhu. Anyone would like to read?
Because she was attending to their needs, I also got the opportunity to render personal service unto them.
Yeah, but now this is very special. That the culture was that the respect and service to saintly people was like inbuilt in the system, in the heart of every person in that kind of cultured society. So his mother used to do that. And because she used to do that, he was like an associate to his mother. So naturally, he also got to do it. So Chaitanya Charitamrita also says that the greatest way to good fortune is just be an associate of someone who is a servant of the Vaishnavas. Like, what is our chance to go back to Godhead, to go back to the spiritual world? Not our name and our other identities and accolades and achievements. No. Our qualification is Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishtaya Bhutare Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Nama. We are Prabhupada Nugas. That's our only hope and qualification. Because we are associated with Srila Prabhupada and his disciples. Yes, Prabhu.
Although impartial by nature, they blessed me with their causeless mercy, because even though I was only a small boy, I was self-controlled, I did not speak more than required, I was not naughty, nor interested in childish play.
Yeah. So this verse is one of the frequently spoken, quoted verses by several Vaishnavas in their description of Narada Muni's life. Because this speaks of certain primary qualifications about a person who can make spiritual advancement. So what does it say? It says that they were impartial by nature. So they are willing to bless anyone. They are the people of God. They are not partial. Even though Narada was a very insignificant child and a very insignificant son of an insignificant lady, yet they blessed him with their causeless mercy. Why? Because they must have been pleased with him. And even though he was only a small boy, he had some very good qualities. What were those qualities? First was self-control. So for a person wanting to make spiritual advancement, self-control is a very, very primary thing. In any path, not just in Bhakti Yoga, but you take Ashtanga Yoga, you take Jnana Yoga, you take even other paths like spirituality or Islam. There is some kind of discipline. There is some kind of self-control. So that is needed. Even if one wants to attain success in material life, one has to have self-control. One has to have discipline. He has to attend the college. He has to do self-studies. He has to skip the sense gratification opportunities which the other guys may go for. So to the degree a person can be self-controlled, self-disciplined, self-responsible, to that degree he can attain success in any field. So similarly in spiritual life also. And then he did not speak more than required. So there are certain tendencies as the NOI, Nectar of Instructions, the book written by Rupa Goswami. There he calls it as Vacho Vegam. There is an urge to speak unnecessarily. Today you open the YouTube and every moment, hours and hours and hours of unnecessary speeches are just being uploaded. So Narada Muni did not have that tendency. And then he was not naughty. Naughty means, people just whiling away their time in playing pranks or this or that. It's not that he did not smile or did not like to be friendly or something. No, but he was not unnecessarily naughty. And not interested in childish plays, which means meaningless activities. So nowadays people do so many meaningless activities. There is a guy here in India doing PhD on longevity of soap bubbles. Why longevity of soap bubbles? Because those rich elite people who are just bathing in their bathtubs and all, so they are looking for bubbles to stay more and more longer on their bodies and to give them that tickling sensation. So it's just not required. It's too childish actually to spend our time in such kind of subject matters. So Narada Muni was not like that. The boy Narada, he was not like that. That's what he's saying here. Yes, Prabhu.
Once, with their permission, I took the remnants of their food, and as a result, all of my sins were eradicated. Because of this, and due to serving such great souls, the life of devotional service to the Lord became very attractive to me.
See, these two things are given: the blessings of the great souls and the service to the great souls. The blessings, in the sense, hearing from them or getting their food remnants. So when the great souls are pleased, they give you some blessing. Like for example, when we work for a multinational company, a corporation. So when your boss is pleased, when your CEO is pleased, what does it do? He gives you a lot of money. Why? Because he has a lot of money and you value that money. Okay. If you please the temple commander or the temple coordinator, whatever you call it in your area, what will he give you? He'll give you nice Mahaprasad or service because he has a lot of it. Right? So whomever you please, that person will give you something something which he has a lot and something which you value. So the saintly people, they offer the blessings. What kind of blessings? They offer their prasad, and most importantly, they offer the katha of the Lord. They offer some opportunity to serve the Lord, and that's what they did. The food here, the remnants of the food, which is called the Mahaprasad remnants, that actually represents, their instructions, the opportunity to do seva, and this leads to eradication of sins. This leads to the very very quick cleansing of the heart. So that's what he said. And one very important thing, because of this, the life of devotional service to the Lord became very attractive. So this is given in the Bhagavatam 1.2.16. Shushushaya Shaddadhanasya Vasudeva Tatha Ruchi Syan Mahad Sevaya Vipra. He says that when we hear about Lord from the great souls, from the Vaishnavas, and when we render seva unto them, so what happens is, by their blessings, we develop interest and attraction which is dormant in our heart. We develop that towards the Supreme Lord. It's already there inside our heart. Just like when we associate with a lusty man, our lust also starts, coming out, manifesting. When we associate with a very greedy person, so the same effect happens. It's like contagious, just like COVID. The corona was contagious. Similarly, this thing, bhakti, attraction to Krishna is contagious. Deep interest in rendering seva to Krishna is contagious. Like there in San Jose, people who associate with His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu, they also get that disease of distributing Srila Prabhupada books or sharing Krishna consciousness with everyone, right? So like that. So what happens further? Yes.
In their association, I heard narrations of Lord Krishna's transcendently attractive pastimes. By such regular and attentive hearing, my taste for such topics increased at every step.
Yeah. See, here begins the magic now. In their association, the boy Narada gets a very amazing habit. What is that habit? He starts regularly and attentively hearing about the topics related to the Supreme Lord. In their association, then regularly, and then attentively. Okay. So Prabhupada always stresses, whenever the hearing topic comes, Prabhupada always stresses on hearing from the right source. The hearing should be done from devotees who have no material interest in rendering spiritual service to the Lord. Most of the people in most of the spiritual paths, they're always hankering for some material thing in return of their spiritual practice. But the true devotees of the Lord, they are those who are selflessly rendering service to the Lord simply to want to please the Lord out of love. And when such devotees chant the holy names of Lord, when such devotees they share the pastimes of the Lord, that goes to the deepest core of the heart of the spirit soul, and that resonates with the eternal nature of the love of the living entity, all of us. And what is that? It revives our nature of simply loving and serving Krishna without any selfish motivation. And that's what started happening for Narada. He started hearing in their association regularly, attentively, and the taste developed. This taste, this ruchi, Vasudeva Katha ruchi. This is the most rare and most valuable ingredient of our bhakti. Why? Because this is not available anywhere just like that. Just there may be a big temple with a big campus and big buildings, and there may be gorgeous deities. There may be whatever, like many Bhagavatam copies. There may be many devotees, scholarly devotees present around. This is very rare. That the natural taste, the natural eagerness, the enthusiasm. Like we all have heard about the enthusiasm which pervades the entire San Jose devotee community. You know. So it's a great example for entire American yatra. So how is that enthusiasm? It's not just done through some system or something. It's that contagious thing which is coming from the bhakti of the heart of so many devotees. Like that. So that association, and in that association, that regularly hearing about. So this hearing is the first step. Shravanam in the association of devotees. This is the first step towards transcendence. When one does that, he immediately begins practicing Krishna consciousness. Like I'll tell you an example. You see Ajamila. Ajamila called out the name of the Lord. Somehow, because his last son, his youngest son was named Narayan. So he called out the name of the Lord. Okay, and what did he get? He got association of devotees. Immediately, the Vishnu Dutas came. In the association of Vishnu Dutas, he got to hear Harikatha because they spoke the laws of Dharma. They spoke in front of the Yamadutas. And Ajamila also got to hear. And because he got to hear, he immediately engaged in spiritual life. Immediately engaged in Krishna consciousness, gave up all the simple habits. And what was the result? After 4 years, he went back to Godhead. So when one hears about Krishna, when one hears about Krishna consciousness in the association of devotees who are selfless, who actually love Krishna, that is why when Prabhupada wrote his commentaries on the Gita, it created revolution everywhere. Otherwise, there were more than 900 commentaries on the Gita already available by the time Prabhupada wrote his commentary. Why did those 900 commentaries not? Why were they unable to bring about any kind of revolution? Because the who is writing, with what mood he is writing, and what is the purity of message he is giving, that matters like anything. Yes, bro.
When this transcendental taste became very strong, my attention became fully fixed on hearing about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As a result, the mode of passionate ignorance vanished from my heart. I realized myself to be different from the gross and subtle bodies. I loved these pure devotees greatly, and with very gentle behavior, I strictly followed their instructions.
Yeah. Now this is like the crux of the entire pastime, where he is explaining that how the change in the purity of his heart started happening. So there is a description in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela about an analogy, how bhakti actually purifies our heart. So our heart is compared to a field, an agricultural field, a garden. And the guru, the spiritual master, he gives us the seed, which is called the Bhakti Lata, Bij. Bij means the seed. That seed he sows in the field of our heart. Now, before sowing the seed, we generally plow the field, right? So it is said the plowing of the field is our humble, inquisitive, respectful behavior towards other living entities, towards the devotees. Because when that happens, our heart becomes very fertile. It becomes very receptive to that beach. Otherwise, if the heart is like a rocky surface, then even the best of the bija, when the best of the farmers are trying to sow it, it doesn't work. Okay. So it is said that Raghunath Das Goswami's heart was the best field. So therefore, the bija which Mahaprabhu put into it It would so quickly he was growing in devotional service so quickly. The Chaitanya Charitamrita explains his entire journey. The levels of renunciation, the levels of devotion, the levels of ecstasy. Quick, quick, very quick. Why? Because he had a very innocent heart. His behavior towards the other living entity was so gentle, so respectful. Even in his mind, he could not even think of disrespecting or creating trouble to any living entity. Similarly, was Haridas Thakur. He even tried to die because the executioners who were beating him in the 22 marketplaces would be killed by the king, by the Qazi, by the Muslim king, if he was found to be alive. So this is the heart of Vaishnava. In Gujarat, there was a saint called Narsingh Mehta, just 2 centuries back. So he used to say this song, very beautiful song. Vaishnava jana to tene kahiye re, pida parai jane re. Who is a Vaishnava? He says a person who understands and feels for, and he wants to give a solution for others' pida, others' sufferings. He cannot be happy when others are not happy. Para dukha dukhi. That is a Vaishnava. So in such devotees association, actually, a person naturally gives his heart. That if Krishna's devotees can be like this, how would Krishna be? When hippies they met Srila Prabhupada, as described by His Holiness Mukunda Swami Maharaj in his book Miracles on the Second Avenue. Beautiful description, just like Yamuna Mataji has described in the book Unalloyed. So they explain how Srila Prabhupada won their hearts. Mukunda Maharaj is explaining that before Swamiji came, we knew each other and we were like associating with each other. And he said that first time when he flew to San Francisco, so we were just watching in the direction where the aeroplane took off, and the smokes were visible and whatever. And we just watching and we just catching each other's hands and just crying like small kids and babies, as if their mother has gone away and what will happen. And he says that who were the people standing besides us? Like some girl is standing here, some boy is standing there, like all hippies, okay, young boys and girls of America. He said that just few months ago we were doing illicit sex with each other, and we were just taking drugs with each other, and now all those identities were not there at all. The only thing was that why this person has gone away and when will he come back? And next few months were just gone in that, just anticipating his coming back. And they say that the only success in their life they could think of was to bring a smile on Srila Prabhupada's face when we would do some spiritually welfare activities for other people in the society. How can this transformation come so quickly? Because the nature of the pure Vaishnavas, just like the nature of the Supreme Lord Krishna himself, is very, very transcendental. It's so pure. It just enchants the heart. It just attracts the heart. Like naturally, just like the iron filings are attracted to the magnet. Very natural. You know. One just has to know it. One just has to come near. Jahara prasade paay, e bhava tariya jai. Jahara nikate gele, papa dure jai. It explains, these songs explain, just by coming near to a Vaishnava, our sinful reaction, the birds of our sinful reaction start flying away. So such is the power of great souls actually, because they carry Krishna in their heart. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that the best of Vaishnavas are those just by remembering them, by looking at them, one remembers the Supreme Lord. Just like if I ever think of Srila Prabhupada, we think of Krishna. Prabhupada's quote also he says Hare Krishna. Anyone remembers. Unlike many other saints and yogis, especially here in India, whose entire spiritual movement is based all around their own personalities. Even after spending decades in their mission, people don't come to know what's what is the objective then of the entire spiritual life? Who is the supreme personality of God? What is the goal of my life? Who am I? They don't realize that because that's like a cult. So he got so inspired, so much attached to these people, their transcendental qualities, so like that. Now what happens further when he started hearing from them, associating with them, he started getting absorbed in watching their wonderful good qualities. So the modes of passion and ignorance. Tada rajastamo bhava kamalobha dayasche chetayate rana vidham sthitam sattve prasidati. So he started getting fixed in sattva guna, and the lower modes of passion and ignorance naturally started vanishing from his heart. He started like floating above, levitating, not exactly physically, but in his heart, he was growing above the gross and subtle limitations, the desires of the material world. So his attention on the Lord started getting fixed. Okay. Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Anyone?
When
Okay,
they are
we shall go ahead.
when they were about to depart, they instructed me in Bhakti Yoga, the art of using everything in the service of the Lord to ultimately return back home, back to Godhead.
So because now they were clear about him that this person actually, this boy actually wants to advance in Krishna consciousness. He's sincere, he's serious, he does not have ulterior motives. So then they started giving him the topmost jewel. What is that? They started instructing him as their own student in Krishna consciousness. How can you practice Bhakti Yoga? Just like Narada Muni instructed Dhruva Maharaj, Narada Muni instructed Prahlad Maharaj. So this is the beginning of the greatest good fortune. Prabhupada often quotes Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita in this regard. He says, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Vijay. Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavana Jiva, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Vijay. Bhagyavan means fortunate in Sanskrit. Okay. Brahmanda Brahmite. After going through many species of life in the entire universe, taking birth for millions of times, lifetimes. When a person becomes fortunate, when a living entity becomes fortunate, what does he get? By the mercy of Krishna, he gets a spiritual master who considers that person as his own, and then he gives him instructions, directions in the science of Bhakti Yoga. And by following that, he goes back to Krishna. He attains Krishna. So by Krishna's mercy, one gets a spiritual master, a bona fide one, a qualified one. And by the mercy of the spiritual master, one attains Krishna. So that's what Narada says. Yeah.
By Lord Krishna's mercy, I gradually became endowed with first with transcendental knowledge of the Lord, then mystic opulence, and ultimately his intimate loving service. My dear Vyasa, I request you to elaborately describe the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, for that will deliver the fallen human society from the miseries of material existence.
So here he says, you see, he has become totally fixed that I gradually became endowed first with transcendental knowledge of the Lord, then mystic opulence, and ultimately his intimate loving service. So now he had nothing else to do in his life. Then what happens? A twist happens one day.
One day, while going out to milk a cow, my mother was bitten by a serpent and she died. I took this as Lord's special mercy.
Yeah. How can a boy whose only caretaker, whose only companion, whose only family member, whose only friend, just a little 5-year-old boy, how can he take this as a special mercy? It was the biggest reversal he could ever have in that situation of his life. How can he take this as a special mercy? Now, this was back in those days when a government was not there to make systems and laws at some child care homes or something. No, nothing. Why could he take this as Lord's special mercy? Because he had developed that faith in the fact that the Lord loves us. It is said that the entire scriptures are only containing one line message. What is that? God's message to all of us. The entire scriptures are Lord's love letter to all of us, saying, screaming aloud, I love you, I love you, I love you. There's no one else who can actually love us better than the Lord. There's a Surudam Sarva Bhutana, Gartir Bharta Prabhu Sakshi Nivasa Sharanam Surat. Gita explains in many places. And if one is convinced of this fact, then Shanti Vrachati. In his heart, there will be minimum thing which will be there will be is always peace. Because see, Lord is a supreme controller and he knows everything, is omniscient, okay, and he loves us. If you combine these three facts, he's a supreme controller, nothing happens without his sanction. Second, he knows everything, including all our desires, thoughts, situations, everything. And third, he loves us. If you combine all these three facts, then the resultant understanding would be, conviction would be, whatever happens in my life happens for the best welfare of myself. So Lord is like that Google GPS, okay? The moment we are taking a wrong turn or a right turn, it dynamically adjusts the further plan for our life. Dynamically adjusts, gives us the free will, and yet with all the forbearance at his command, with all the humility and patience he has because of his love, he's always making adjustments to make sure that the next thing which should happen naturally in our life should be for our best welfare. It's so amazing actually. So Narada had this full conviction, just like Srila Prabhupada had this full conviction in his own life when his business collapsed and his own people started, backing out from his life. So we have like 6 more minutes. Let me go a little fast. Yes, Prabhu, this is another beautiful thing.
Even though I had no experience of foreign lands, I immediately left home and started for the north.
Yeah. So this north indicates, like in India, the north indicates Himalayas and many innumerable number of holy places like Ayodhya, Vrindavan, okay, and Varanasi and Prayag, and Prabhupada talks about Kurukshetra, many other places. So he left home and he started from the north, which means he was now fully concentrating on spiritual life and finding out Krishna in his life. He was just a child, remember, and he has no experience of foreign lands. Alone, he has, started off. Yes, bro.
After passing numerous cities, towns, villages, farms, forests, mountains, and valleys, I entered a densely dark jungle with snakes, owls, and jackals.
Yeah, so just see each thing which is passing by. Okay, numerous cities, towns, villages, farms, forests, mountains, and valleys. Which means he had many interesting places, many beautiful, scenic, pristine valleys. He would have passed through very attractive forests, but he did not get attracted with the comforts or the facilities available there, and he did not get even fearful with a densely dark jungle filled with snakes, owls, and jackals, or even with lions and leopards and whatever were there. Yeah.
Since I had become very thirsty and fatigued, I drank the water and bathed to refresh myself.
So he lived a simple, natural life. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's unmuted.
Yes.
Then I sat down in the shade of a great banyan tree and began meditating upon Supreme Soul within, as I had learned from my spiritual masters.
So see, in his journey, he also passed through mines. He also passed through places which were filled with opulent things like gold, like silver, and like many other valuable, materially valuable things. But he did not get attracted. So he was not fearful. He was not attached to anything. He was not looking for material pleasures. He passed through all the situations and places. And somewhere, every day he was meditating on the Supreme Lord. And one day, when he was doing so, see, as I had learned from my spiritual masters, what happened is, I'm only now just summarizing the rest of the part. So what happened is, as he was concentrating his mind on the Supreme Lord, he started manifesting in his heart. Lord is there within our heart, right? In everybody's heart. Ishvara Sarva Bhutana Riddesha Arjuna Tishtati Ramayan Sarva Bhutani Yantra Rudani Maya. And this vision of the Lord's transcendental form provided him with deep satisfaction that is beyond description. No other satisfaction in this world of attaining, great wealth or great properties or great name and fame, a lot of skills and abilities, a lot of talents, or a lot of opposite sex or great pose. None of those pleasures, none of those experiences can ever match with the deep satisfaction of experiencing Krishna, experiencing the Supreme Lord, because He's the be all and end all. He is what we are made up of. We are just part and parcel of Him. So when he got that experience, the tears of love started falling from his eyes, and he wanted nothing else now. He's just totally satisfied. And then suddenly, that very Lord, who was now fully visible to him, fully manifested in his heart, suddenly vanished. And he got greatly agitated. Come on, my dear Lord, where are you? Where are you? And he's just looking, frantically looking here and there. Where is that personality? Where is that personality? And despite his efforts to capture him again with his meditation, he could not do so. He was just not, he was aghast. He was wondering why did it happen? And then in his mind, he was surrendering himself to the Lord. Okay. And then the Lord spoke to him. Upon seeing my sincere attempts in that lonely place, the Lord, while remaining invisible, spoke to me with a grave voice, just to mitigate my sorrow. What did the Lord say? O Nārada, I regret to inform you that you will not be able to see me again during this lifetime, because one who is not freed from all material contamination can hardly approach me. However, as a special favor, I have shown myself to you just to increase your desire, just to increase your intensity to come to me. By my mercy, neither your advancement in Krishna consciousness nor your remembrance will ever be impeded, even at a time of creation or annihilation. So whatever advancement we make in bhakti, it never, it never goes down, it never degrades. Okay, we even if we go to the next lifetime, we are just going to add to it, go above. And finally, because he got this darshan of the Lord, it's like a advertisement, like a sample, ecstasy. And then the Lord told, you practice more and you further your intensity of the desire to attain me, and then one day you will definitely attain me. And that's what happened in that very lifetime. You see here, he's leaving his body. Okay, this is the last part. Thus, fully absorbed in thinking of Lord Krishna, in due course of time, I was freed from all taints of material attachment. I met with death. Instantaneously, I received a transcendental form that was befitting an associate of the Lord, just as lightning and illumination occur simultaneously. So, death and the revival of the spiritual form of the jiva attains simultaneously, and it is not at all associated with any pain, because just like a person who knows that after quitting this home, I'm going to get into a palace like a White House or something, so he will just happily give off his home, right? You don't have to drag him. He's not going to suffer. Like, he's going to happily walk out. Hey, Haribo, just let's go. Similarly, when a devotee leaves his body, okay, it's a very, very special experience. In fact, I have been fortunate to see many devotees, okay, leaving their bodies right in front of my eyes. Actually, since childhood, I was in Vallabha Sampradaya, another parampara, and some other time I can share about that. But it is a very special experience actually when a sincere devotee actually leaves his body, he goes back to God. There's no struggle, unlike the clinical symptoms of death which happen in a general hospital or anywhere. Thereafter, I appeared as Lord Brahma's son, but unlike his other sons, my appearance was completely spiritual. Since then, by grace of Lord Vishnu, I've been traveling everywhere, both in spiritual and material world, singing the glories of the Lord. Nārada Muni Bhajaye Vina Nadhikara Mananame. So this is the story of Nārada, which is very, very special in giving us lessons also. My dear Vyasa, thus it has been directly experienced by me that the best means for the suffering conditioned souls to cross over the oceans of nations is to situate themselves in the boat of constant chanting of the holy name and pastime of the Supreme Lord. And again, the most important factor in this is in the association of devotees, where we hear from them and where we render service to them. So that is the most important essence of Nārada Muni's life. So I thank all of you for your kind attention and time. I'm sorry I took entire time, all 45 minutes, and there was no time for question, answer, or discussion. But what to do? It is worth it actually to just complete it. Any comments?
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Acyuta Mohan Prabhu, Devrat Prabhu, before we end, You have any comments?
Oh, this is one of my favorite section actually. We all want to know, when I was in LA 2 days back, especially when I was seeing Westerners taking up Krishna consciousness. In LA, you will see a lot of Westerners. First thought that comes into my mind is how they became Krishna conscious. Just the very question gives you inspiration in continuing devotional service. Everyone has such unique stories, and in Srimad Bhagavatam also so nicely it is explained that one of the question that how Nārada Muni became Krishna conscious. And this journey has when you were going through each and every section, I was thinking that this is like a summarization of entire devotional service. Like how there was a problem that came, but it took it as an opportunity. Then Sangha, giving importance to association, chanting. So everything is covered in this one pastime. So thank you, Prabhu, for taking this one.
Thank you.
In fact, actually, whenever I go for a home program, especially if they took a new house, I usually cover this topic, because how you have to receive the guest when they come home, especially so I like this topic a lot also.
Devrat Prabhu, our shining sun.
Hare Krishna.
Right.
I am always inspired by the example of Nārada Muni, and how, because everyone likes a rags to riches story.
Yeah.
So this story is very, very attractive to the heart of anyone who hears it. And the story is actually in a book that we distribute frequently in America. I mean, this is like one of the main stories that you'll get, because one of the main books we distribute on the streets is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, chapters 1 through 8. So I thought this was I was appreciating the fact that this story is shared with people, and as Acyuta Chaitanya Prabhu is saying, this is a story which is relatable, especially if someone's taking up a spiritual path. They can relate with the story of Nārada Muni and his determination to want to make spiritual progress due to the blessings of the Vaishnavas. And I think that's really what strikes me the most, is that the blessings of the Vaishnavas are so powerful that anyone can take to the process of devotional service if they can receive that association. So that's what really stands out the most, is that Nārada Muni was just a simple boy, but he had proper conduct and proper character in the association of sadhus, and from that, Krishna blessed him, and he was given the intelligence to act properly when a test came with his mother's passing. Krishna gave him the intelligence to know how to act. I was appreciating that point, and also just your whole presentation was very nice. These pictures are very beautiful. I don't know where they've come from, but they're very, very nice.
Actually, I had the same question.
Yeah.
I was trying to search it. Very nice pictures from it.
I can share this PPT right away with you. So I'll share with you on WhatsApp. So actually, this is we have to keep sharing all the materials we have in Krishna consciousness, so everybody can take benefit. Yeah, I also agree. It makes a lot of difference.
So could you share with me also this slide?
Okay, I'll share here itself too.
Okay, bro.
You can take it from here. I hope I'm able to. Okay, I'll share with you too on WhatsApp.
Okay.
I'm not able to figure out how to send from here. Okay, bro. Thank you once again. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
His Grace Acyuta Mohan Prabhu ki jai. Prabhupada.